III.
Here we go. We appear to have stable stream for the moment, so yay. Yes, we are missing a good few, aren't we?
Yeah, so say, where's Davis and where is Sean?
Davis said he'd be
Davis sent a message.
yeah, Davis said he'd be late. Sean don't know. John's around, but probably not around. Nope, speak
Red
of.
one.
Hello?
Hello, yep, we got you.
Two fellas.
So, we might have our Commander Vibers, we may not, but we've got mostly everybody now, so...
We will have Vibers, he's just going to be a bit.
Yeah, so... So, yes, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully our wayward soul won't tune in the moment I start playing the intro video, so if he does, you know, just look at him disapprovingly. Like I will. Until then, we turn off the ship rumble and the Great Adventure intro music, whilst we quickly jump over to our intro video, and we'll be back within a couple of moments. See you in a bit. And there we have it. Welcome along to the further adventures of the USS Navis, everybody. I am MJ, the GM, otherwise known as Matt, and I will be your games master for tonight. As with me, as always, are the Navis crew, most of them.
Hello. We are not changelings. I don't know where this rumour came from.
So,
We aren't all changelings.
Yes, you may safely and confidently go back to your pathetic, solid lives.
so
There's nothing you can do to stop them.
them. Oh yes,
Why,
of course, he's the one not changeling aboard the ship. That's right. Sorry, I remembered. Well, nevertheless, we are going to be waiting a little bit for our chief engineer, apparently. But other than that, we should be still proceeding ahead with the episode. So, before I begin with the episode summary, anything folks want to bring to my notice, or bring to everybody's notice? Any announcements to make, any questions to ask? Now's the time. Okie dokie. Cool then. So, quick as I can, kind of summary then. So, the USS Navis crew had been tasked not long after we have restationed ourselves at Narendra Station, Starbase 364. Chief Civilian Scientist Dr. Taliaferro has requested that Starfleet assist with a missing civilian science vessel, the SS Tesla. The Tesla was apparently last seen in the Orgun system, investigating the rather interesting aspect of the system, which was that it had 2 M-class planets to its system. But the Tesla had since failed to communicate back, and so somebody, most definitely yourselves, have to go and find out what happened to the Tesla. what you discovered was that there's a great deal of electromagnetic interference in the atmosphere on the third planet, Orgun III, and as such, there was evidence that the Tesla was struck by some kind of electromagnetic pulse which knocked the ship out of orbit and down, crash landing down onto the planet below. In order to make sure the same thing didn't happen to your ship, the Navis was positioned as high up as it could go so it wouldn't spark such a similar reaction from the intense electromagnetic field around the third planet. You decided to take the Carpathia runabout down to the surface, whereupon you started your search for the SS Tesla, and you found it. A bit worse for wear, but it could probably be repaired if you had the time. But for the most part, it seems that there were survivors from the Tesla, and they'd headed off somewhere northwards, and just as you were about to embark on finding out where they could have gone, you were pretty much, I'm not going to say attacked, because you weren't, but you were approached by a vast number of what looked like natives on anti-gravity sleds they were using to propel themselves through the air. So the native humanoids appear to have at least mastery over anti-gravity technology. Of particular note is that this mission has Klingons seconded to the mission team. So a joint Navis Klingon away mission is being conducted, which is why on our little display screen you can see that to the right of Captain Ducasse is our Klingon Captain Darkran. The rest of his officers are elsewhere. So, have I missed anything? Anything anybody has questions over? Anything I missed?
Certain members of the crew have been incredibly antagonistic, so I'm waiting for this to explode in violence as now an armed foe is approached. The Klingons have been slowly boiling over as they've been insulted time and time again.
Yes, of course. Indeed, yes. So, yeah. If I recall, the instigating event was a certain Ensign Jean Eric took exception to the boasts of a certain Klingon, which pretty much erupted in a brawl for all. Thankfully, nobody was seriously injured, but it did mean that tensions from the fact that the recent Federation conflict against the Klingon Empire hasn't just slipped everybody's minds. So, there's still a good degree of tension between the two polities, which was what this combined mission was meant to try and avoid. It was meant to try and foment cooperation once again between Starfleet and the Klingons. So far it's been a bit, shall we say, strained. Alright then, if there are no more questions, comments, concerns, or such to bring up, then let's divert ourselves to where we were, which was the crash site. So you guys had managed to find the location of the crash site of the Tesla. For the purposes of this map, the Tesla was an older form of Oberth class, but pretty much it's a civilian science vessel and therefore not kitted out quite as well as an up-to-date Starfleet ship would otherwise be. And well, not exactly surrounding you, but facing off against you are a whole pack of Lumerian security forces. And live long and prosper to you too, suitable substrate. Thanks for tuning in, as always. So, You guys are all packed together, and the Lumerians had descended, one of which, identifying themselves as the leader of the Lumerian security force, said that they had seen your runabout descend and want you to come with them. That's where we left it, so now we're going to take it back up straight where we left off. Each one of these Lumerians has a kind of, well, like I said, a gravity sled, so it's got enough space for a driver and for one passenger on each sled. There are more than enough Lumerians, so each one of yourselves should be able to fit. Each of the Lumerians appears to be armed with some form of ranged weapon. Looks a bit bulky, not terrifically advanced. But the one thing you do notice about the Lumerians are, besides the fact that they are definitely humanoids and wearing certain fabricated pieces of uniform and armor combinations, are that they bear a great resemblance to basically humanoid lemurs in the fact that they have that kind of that fur, the big ears, the large eyes. The size of their eyes, for those who are interested in xenobiology and such, would seem to indicate that the Lumerians have got exceptionally good vision even in dark conditions. Their fingers are very long and dexterous looking, which probably means that they are also, as well as being able to wield and do fine manipulation of objects, they are probably extraordinarily good climbers too. So, the Lumerians have descended, and they are directing these bulky weapons not exactly at you, but they do have them on standby because they appear to be uncertain of how you're going to respond. The Klingons, naturally, do not look too impressed. One of them steps forward, drawing a disruptor. "These puny things shall not be telling me what to do!" As he levels the disruptor. A bunch of the Lumerians, these guys, all level their weapons at this fella. But Andrews steps between. Oop, and we may have our chief engineer. Nope, we have our chief science officer. Awesome. Welcome, welcome. Yep, we were just at the situation where we'd last left you, where the natives, the Lumerians, had discovered you. And it seems one of the Klingons is keen to kick off.
Yeah, Andrews will position himself between the two and
Okay.
state that this is a Federation-led mission.
The Klingon officer just sneers in contempt. Typical cowardly behavior. They threaten us, and you put up your hands and surrender. But...
Oh, wait, did you feel threatened? I didn't feel threatened.
The Klingon rounds on Commander Thazanan at this point, but Captain Darkrun physically puts his hand on the Klingon's arm, who darts a look at his captain, but the Captain Darkrun just stares at him, doesn't glare, doesn't shout, just looks at his officer, who eventually holsters his weapon and backs off. The Lumerians, however, are still on not high alert, but they haven't lowered their weapons. They're very ready for anything. Please, says the head of the Lumerians who have approached you. Please, we wish to take you to safety. There are others who crashed here. We would take you to them.
just kind of looking over towards Nova to see whether she gets any level of the fact that they're not being truthful. Oh, and Bravo's there as well, isn't he? I forgot about Pro Bravo because
Bravo just stands there like, "Hi, head of security." If any of the Betazoids want to give the Lumerians a quick sensing, as it were, to check if they are indeed on the level, you can feel free to do so. If somebody does want to be Chief Bravo, Nova gets 1 success. Okie dokie. Anyone who wants to be Bravo, so let's go with... Gareth landed there first, so let's do Gareth for now.
Okay, insight command. Telepathy is a focus.
So, yes, insight and command with telepathy as a focus. I'm not telling you what the... Okay, 1 success each.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as far as Bravo and Nova can both tell, the natives, the Lumerians, don't seem to be trying to hide any intentions. They're a bit nervous, especially because the Klingon drew a weapon. But overall, they don't seem to be hiding any ill intentions. They appear to be genuine in what they're saying. Oh, and I've just noticed that as usual, my momentum and threat indicators are not there, so I have to reload in order to bring them to the fore. So, are you willing to go with the Lumerians?
we have no reason to distrust them at this moment in time.
Okie dokie.
But it's up to everyone else as well. What's everyone else's feelings?
We do need to find the scientists, obviously. There's also the thing that if they have... It's difficult to gauge whether or not they're at the warp, sort of like point of General Order 1. Because they do have anti-gravity, which means they must have a fair degree of technological advancement. If they don't, if they don't fall under General Order 1, Prime Directive, then we're on their territory. There's no reason not to. And if they do, we still need to go with them to actually ascertain how much damage is being, and if there's any hope of actually correcting it.
The idea of others is worrying because it implies either there being a separate species or that they're infighting.
I thought it was more along the lines is that they know that the crew of the Tesla.
Yeah, so I thought that's what they referred to when they said others. I might have misunderstood though.
Well, they've offered no clarification, so unless you ask them.
Sorry, can you just recap the size of these anti-grav sleds? How many people would be able to go on each?
It looks like there's enough space on for 1 person on the back.
That's a little bit problematic with the Klingons, I guess. So it would mean the Klingons would be...
Supervised on each one.
Should be 1-for-1 basis.
If the Klingons don't behave themselves, then we're going to have to deal with that. But hopefully they have some level of restraint.
I almost wanted to snicker at that.
We will ask that you
generous.
hand over your weapons if you are to when you are to come with us. If you are peaceful, then you will get them back. But we must ask that you come with us first.
Well, I guess the fact that they didn't shoot first and ask questions later is promising.
I assume that you'll be taking us to the rest of the crew of the crew of this ship. Is that correct?
There were survivors from those who crashed in this ship. Yes, we will take you to them.
Then As I said, I have no reason to distrust what they're saying.
If Commander, what was it then? Yeah, hand over his. It was hand over his hand phaser.
Okay. A pair of the Lumerians disengage and kind of bring out this webbed sack, essentially, for folks to deposit their weapons in. The Klingons, of course, don't just hand over one weapon. They grudgingly take out a disruptor and then a dagger each, and at least one of them's got a bat'leth strapped across his back. As does the captain.
I will very slowly, after disarming my Type 2 and Type 3 phasers, take out my duck tag, spin it round a couple of times deliberately in front of the Klingons, and then put it in the box.
This elicits no response.
Thought as much. But it's just showing them is that yes, we have honour amongst us.
Alright.
I'm debating whether or not to put a communicator into the bag as well. Simply so we can keep track of it.
That's entirely up to you.
Yeah, I think that's something.
The only issue with that is how do you do it subtly, because it'd be noticeable that you're taking off your unless you want to do it sleight of handish.
It's also making a presumption that they wouldn't be able to have technology or be able to recognise what it actually is.
I mean, John, if you want Natala to try, slip the communicator in there subtly. It's entirely up to you.
I think rather that than lose track of where the text ended up.
Alright, any such attempt will be a control and security task versus their, let me see, their insight and security. So, I got 2 successes, so you have to get... not that. Okay. You can, if you want, spend a point of determination to reroll one of those dice of yours, if you wish.
No, I don't think it's worth it.
Okay. So, one of them does notice that an extra item is dropped in there. At which point he looks to his fellow, and they both kind of ask their captain to come over. They whisper, which is below your ability to actually hear, but the humans have very big ears, so they can hear it just fine. At which point the captain goes, indicates to each of your individual badges. If those are weapons also, then please put them in the bag as well.
I'm sorry, they aren't weapons, but it is a matter of protocol that one of them should stay with the rest of our gear.
A security measure, yes?
Yes.
Very well. We accept. Okay. So, this fellow keeps hold of the bag full of everybody's weapons. It's a bit cumbersome now that there are a pair of bat'leths in there, but he has it strapped now across his back. There is, like I said, space for one person on the back of each and every anti-grav sled, so you will be riding with... Each one of you will be riding on the back of a Lumerian's grav sled. So, if there are no further actions or precautions or whatever to take up, then tippity-toe and off we go. So, the Lumerians, as soon as you are all on board, the Klingons, of course, are very, very wary, but they get on with no actual fuss. What you find is that as soon as you step onto the grav sled, there's some kind of small, localized gravity field holds your feet in place. which acts very nicely as a means of securing you without having to actually physically secure you to the sled. Each and every one of you feeling a bit more secure with the fact that their technology is advanced enough to keep you on the sled as you're moving through. And these sleds up and start streaking away towards the north. Rolling hills start to pass by as you start approaching at not terribly quick speed, but they make for very good time since they're able to cross over all the various territories that would otherwise impede your progress. You notice you're heading towards a very large patch of the cultivated forest that you had noted the last time, and they don't appear to be veering from it at all. They are heading straight towards the trees. The reason for this soon becomes highly apparent, as with great dexterity the Lumerians maneuver their grav sleds in between the boughs of the various trees, and you notice that these trees are all very orderly laid out, grown to incredibly impressive proportions. But as you start passing in between them, you notice that there are bridges connecting them and platforms secured to them. In fact, a great many buildings seem to be either nestled in, woven into, or secured to the individual trees. So the trees themselves are being used as foundation for their cities.
Just having the time of his life.
So Bertram's very much there with mouth agape going, "Oh, look at that!" It takes you a good couple of minutes to zip between the various tree towers as you proceed on. There are plenty of what look like cultivated areas for food and for clean water and all of that. But as you start proceeding through, a couple of areas do show recent damage, which suggests that some kind of localized upheaval has taken place. Some tree platforms are damaged, some trees themselves are all slightly toppled over and are being secured by various cranes and multitudes of what's the word I'm looking for? Like grav lassos, for lack of a better word, are being used to try and keep these precarious structures secure. And just when you think that the site couldn't be more impressive, you eventually, some moments later, exit onto the site of an extraordinarily large tree, one which dwarfs dimensions of all the other trees that you've seen thus far. It must be thousands of years old by the size of its trunk alone, and yet seemingly woven into this as a fairly impressive structure made of multiple dangling lights that look almost like dewdrops hanging from it. And it appears that around this central tree tower is the majority of the this appears to be the center of the Lumerians' culture, because there are various cultivated gardens, there are statues made out of natural materials, woven almost as naturally as the trees themselves. And that's where you eventually, at the foot of such a natural structure, get deposited. So there are numerous regular Lumerians scattered about. As soon as the security officers descend on their grav sleds, they release with a flick of a button on their control panel set into the forearm pads of their uniforms. They release the grav clamp that held you to the sled, allowing you to disembark. Let me just make sure we've got everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Nice. Captain Thema indicates for the others to leave, but there are already other There's a smattering of other Lormian security forces here and there, but for the most part, it seems that you have landed in the middle of a civilian area. This way, please, says Captain Lima, and leads you towards an entrance woven, not cut, not fabricated, woven seemingly into the bole of this particular tree. In here, please. We ask you to wait. When you enter, of course, the first thing that catches your eye is that in this naturally splendid waiting chamber are a quartet of humanoids like yourselves. 3 human, 1 trill.
Androids.
Definitely the first thing that caught my eye. You know, this the botanical nature of their buildings definitely did at first.
Let me just move folks around a little bit. So, security officers are placed at the entrance to this room. The Klingons do grudgingly trudge their way in, so I'm just gonna... sorry. Let's separate you
Vic
from
got
them.
there first.
Excuse me, I was here first.
Yeah. Don't make me hit you with an tick attack.
Captain Thema, as you all file in, says, I would ask you to wait here so that I may fetch our leader. Please make yourselves comfortable while you wait. Now, quite how one is expected to make oneself comfortable when there are no actual chairs in the area, it remains to be seen. However, for the most part, this place echoes the design aesthetic that you've seen there so far. Everything is naturally made, a few stone statues here and there, but mostly everything seems to have been grown into place. But, of course, of primary concern for yourselves are the quartet of scientists, the eldest of which, a human male, seems to be the one in charge. Starfleet, at last! We were beginning to wonder if we'd ever get found. Who is in charge here? Or, heavens forfend, did you actually crash, like us?
That is just offensive.
Well, I do apologize, sir, but the electromagnetic interference in the atmosphere caused us to crash, and for a moment there I feared you'd suffered the same fate as us, and our rescue would be, well, a double rescue. I'm gratified to hear, then, that you have come here with the intent of taking us to safety. Oh, of course, how rude of me. Allow me to introduce myself, Dr. Everett Sherman. These are my colleagues, Dr. Norma Grange, Dr. Skye Lort, and Dr. Orimu Faz. They were originally...
Have you been well treated here, sorry?
What was that, sorry?
Have you been well treated here?
Oh, yes. The Lumerians have done nothing but treat us well ever since they found us. Unfortunately, 2 of our number died from their injuries after the crash, so we're the only ones left. It's around about this point that let me see which one of them is the right one. It'll have to be that one. The younger lady with the glasses steps up next to Dr. Sherman, and she's got a tricorder in her hand. and which, even though she does say it in a semi-whisper, it's still loud enough for the rest of you to hear. She doesn't try and disguise it that well. Doctor, it's nearly time. How long? Says Sherman. At which Dr. Grange responds, 10, 9, 8, and after she counts down to 0, there's a sudden tremor that runs beneath the ground, and it causes very audible groaning to happen in the structure all around you, and you can definitely hear it echoed elsewhere in the tree city that you're currently in. That one was right on schedule.
Is there something we should be aware of?
What were you going to say, Webby?
Exactly the same thing.
You mean you don't already know? Oh, that's a shame.
We've been here a grand total of about 40 minutes.
Ah, yes, of course. I'm afraid that this planet is becoming geologically unstable. Probably the result of the unusual energy readings that we detected when we first entered orbit here. Unfortunately, those energy readings may very well be responsible for the magnetization of the atmosphere. It appears that this has been going on for some time, but has been building up. But the situation is now becoming more and more critical, I'm afraid. The geological instability of this planet is growing. So far, the tremors are coming along at a measurable rate, which was how we've been able to anticipate them. They have been happening frequently ever since our arrival. And it seems it's on a countdown to destruction. I'm afraid the Lumerians and their planet are doomed. Unless we can figure out some way to get them off the planet.
Not possible to actually try and find the source.
Well, unfortunately, most of our equipment was damaged when we crash landed here. We didn't know, we didn't realize the electromagnetic properties of the upper atmosphere until it was too late. And unfortunately, when it struck our ship, it rendered most of the automated processes inert. And that, of course, led to our crash landing here on the surface. We have since been without the majority of our equipment, except for a few functioning tricorders. Since then, we've been piecing together what we can with the help of the native Lumerians.
Are the Lumerians aware of the situation that's ongoing?
Oh, yes, of course. We've been helping them with it.
What is their technology level?
Their technology level? Well, as you no doubt have noticed, they've started making inroads into use of anti-gravity technology. They do not, as of yet, have faster-than-light travel capabilities, which is why we have to help them.
Okay, first things first. Bertram is going to tap his communicator and see if there's any way that we can contact the Navis through this electromagnetic charge that's in the atmosphere.
Okay, as soon as he does, he gets... Hopefully you could all hear that.
A lot of static?
Yeah.
Okay, that answers that.
I'm afraid we've been getting similar problems too. Our communications are extraordinarily limited due to the interference.
I was very much hoping that maybe with the ship in orbit, the lack of distance might have helped, but apparently not.
If your ship were lower in orbit, maybe, but if they were lower in orbit, then they would risk getting knocked out by an EM pulse.
Yeah.
But you came down, you didn't beam down, I take it?
Mr. Edwards, do you think there's any possibility that this instability is related to other geological changing structures we found in the past?
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
It's possible, but without a proper, well, probably able to scan or look around the place, it'd be hard to tell. Due to the nature of this disruption, it makes it virtually impossible at this point to be able to try and find what the heck's going on. Sort of like a chicken and egg scenario. We need one to be clear to find the other, but if the other's creating this static, we never do it. I mean, it's definitely a possibility, but could just be the composition of the planet and potentially particulates in the atmosphere. There's probably a few reasons that could be causing this, so I dare not kind of speculate, to be honest.
If we were forced to speculate.
What was that, Sean?
I was saying we could easily just ask the Lumerians. These obelisks and pyramid things have been pretty damn obvious.
Especially if they've cultivated large areas of the surface, they would have come across any obstacles to root structures and...
Sure.
That's, I presume the Lumerians would have... And I turned to Sherman and his group. I assume you've asked them about what point these tremors started happening. If it's been ongoing for or if we're talking about maybe weeks ago or however long.
From what we've been able to discern, which hasn't been easy, the Lumerians have, of course, even though they've treated us well, they have been a little guarded at first. But once we gained their trust, from what we could ascertain, this has been going on for months. And getting stronger as time has gone on.
Matt, would months ago roughly coincide with any of the disturbances we've seen with the Tilical stuff we come across on other worlds?
Interesting question.
Worlds? Yeah.
Alright, let's see. You guys are here, so that's...
Oh, we'd be corresponding with, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's see. Weeks. More weeks. A month. Another month. If so, the nearest as far as time goes that let me see, that would either be the strange structure you found in the on SETI Alpha 5, or it could have been. What's the name of that one again?
Was it Bacchus?
Bacchus was quite a bit ago by this point,
Yeah, 2
but
months ago for Bacchus.
there was that time where you went to the Madrigal system and that aperture in space opened that dragged not only Lieutenant Turi through, but also the Starfleet Black Ship. I say Starfleet, the Black Ship.
Oh, the one owned by the Syndicate.
No,
Yes,
the Orion
that
Pirates, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Syndicate.
Alright. Well,
If there is a correlation between them, it could be either of those, perhaps.
yeah, because I think, if I remember right, the information we got on SETI Alpha 5 indicated there was some sort of signal heard being received. I think, wasn't that matching the previous one that we... Where are my notes? Yeah, we found there was a signal received or something that matched the time frame when we were at Beta Niobe, which caused basically that planet to basically start collapsing, because that's when we had to go and rescue that group of scientists or whatever it was. So I'm wondering if something has happened.
We didn't find a similar transmission go out at either of those
Yeah.
events.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's something similar happening in this one, because this is started to sound disturbingly similar to what was happening on that world. Because that started with tremors that got worse and worse, didn't it?
Mhm.
On the plus side, we could make the argument now, if it ever comes to Starfleet, that this entire thing is caused by outside influences and technology, which
That was
basically means
fine.
anything we do is actually working within the Prime Directive, because it allows us to
Exactly.
do what's
If
needed.
the situation has already been influenced by significant technology, then
Yeah,
give them more leeway.
Yeah.
And so I'm hopeful that is the situation, if only because that gives us both the right to assist and also gives us potential solutions.
yeah. But I'm thinking without contact with the ship, our only hope of actually finding the source of this is the runabout. So I don't think we're going to find it with tricorders.
Unless the Lumerians have records of it was very difficult to get root structures to build in this area, which would lead us up to underground places.
True. Yep.
All right. Any other thoughts on the matter?
They might also have more primitive technology like seismographs, which would allow us to get a better indication of maybe the location or epicenter of the tremors.
Gravitational technology has lots of sensor variants. They may well have some interesting Earth sonar kind of situations.
Yeah. Interesting, says Dr. Sherman.
So,
You appear
Captain
to have...
Darkin, any suggestions as well that you'd like to contribute to this conversation, as we are obviously operating in three-way communication at this point in time?
You appear to have plenty of theories. Let us see if they bear fruit. But if, as you believe, there is an outside influence, then it seems that you have found yet another way around your precious Prime Directive. Well, be that as it may, says Dr. Sherman, of primary concern should be, of course, rescuing the Lumerians themselves, which is what we've been occupying ourselves with since we got here. Yes, indeed, says a voice coming from the entryway, as a slightly older Lumerian with odd kind of glasses, almost. You could almost think them of spectacles, some kind of visor stroke eyewear of some sort, but this one is clad in what look more like ceremonial robes and has a walking staff that looks pretty ancient and is evidently as much an aid for this older Lumerian to walk as it is a sign of office. Captain Thema flanks this individual, and Dr. Sherman says, my friends, I would like to introduce Chief Minister Turrell, leader of the Lumerian government. The good doctors have been trying to assist us in utilizing our gravitational technologies in order to form what he says might be a gravity bridge. Yes. Our best suggestion so far has been that we can potentially save the Lumerian people by transplanting them from this planet to the second planet. The second planet is, after all, an M-class. Sorry, John, go on.
Effectively catapulting them via tractor beam with gravitational. That is quite the feat for power usage.
Indeed. But it's the only solution we have available to us. But now that you're here, well, our options have increased.
Particularly
We
if I can
scanned
remember
the other
correctly.
planet before coming down here. I can't remember.
Never did.
Think
Not
you
overly.
did. John, did you say something and I missed it?
Natala muttering to herself, particularly if we can remember a whiteboard of data over tractor beam mechanics.
Yes. Yes, the answers that were so terribly, terribly close to being solved, yes. If I could have solved that by now. Yes, well, there was a question asked, I've lost track of it. What was it again, sorry?
Did we
Oh,
scan
what
the other
did you
planet?
scan the other? Yes, the other planet was inhabited.
By civilization.
It seems so. But you concentrated the majority of your scans on the trail of where the Tesla went, which was the third planet. So further scans were not committed, or detailed scans were not committed.
And suddenly the Prime Directive has just punched us in the face again.
Mm-hmm.
Is Bertram voicing that out loud?
Yeah, I would voice that anyway.
Yeah.
At which point, Darkroom bursts out laughing. Ah, yes. The hypocrisy. It's so amusing. The other Klingons seem to be stifling smirks themselves.
I'm ignoring them and as I say, we really need to actually try and re-establish contact with our ship.
But yes, with you here, continues Sherman, we can start to actually evacuate these people. If you have access to your ship, then you could send word, but we need to be doing this quickly.
Well, once it's certain, an evacuation is going to be difficult, almost to the point of impossibility if we don't find a way around this interference. But your ship down, we had difficulty basically overcome by our fantastic pilot. I glance over at Fazana.
Fazadan wasn't piloting.
I was
Did he?
co-pilot.
Oh, who's piloted?
We weren't looking. So
I was in the launch bin, if you remember, so I wouldn't have seen this. I'd have just assumed.
Chief Mr.
Yeah.
Turbo, as looking for alternate solutions and for trying to see if we can find the root of the issue, do you have any records, either recent scans or historical records of the cultivation of the planet, that would lead to an idea of where there might be any underground structures?
Underground structures? There is a wilderness region, 200 kilometers just northeast of our capital city here in Lorne. We have never been able to successfully seed the area with our tree towers. That is not uncommon in areas where there are dense amounts of rocks and metals in the underground surface. They make for poor planting sites. That would be the closest.
Looking over to Edwards and just hope. You know.
Hey,
Commander, my friends, I must insist that
Yeah.
even if you are intent on locating this, wherever it is you're trying to locate, plans must still be drawn up on how we're going to evacuate the Lumerians. The nearby planet of Orgun II is the quickest and safest and swiftest option for these people. may already be inhabited, but these people will die if we don't.
It goes against the very principles of the Federation doing that by interfering with a sentient colony, and there are other solutions that need to be explored before we take the route.
Your supposition is incorrect, Commander. If you're referring to the Prime Directive, that applies to Starfleet, not the civilians.
May not be wearing my badge at this moment, but that does not change whether my oaths allow me to assist in your effort.
Please, there are 6 million Lumerians alive on this planet who will die if we do not find some way of saving them. Orgun II is closest. Even if you brought fleets of ships back.
This is a discussion that can be had later. The priority is actually to buy as much time, make this planet as safe as possible, and potentially find a way to actually evacuate if needed or save these people, maybe even without disrupting a potentially other civilization.
The other civilization is barely out of its Stone Age.
Then that makes it even more important. The first priority here should be to ascertain if there is a cause that can be dealt with. At worst, it might buy us time and might also clear up the atmosphere to make saving these people easier.
Very well. I will defer to your plan of action in this regard, if this is how you wish to proceed. But I must insist, there has to be something drawn up quickly. As you have already noted, the gravitic bridge technology is still going to be extraordinarily experimental for the Lumerians. It's not without its hazards. With an actual starship or starships present, we could facilitate a faster and therefore more full evacuation of the Lumerians from the planet. But of course, if you wish to try and deal with the cause of the interference in the atmosphere, then I can wait making my point until you return from such an expedition.
We're not saying to stop your research, Doctor, it's just the fact that we want to make sure that we eliminate every other possible scenario before we have to. Because as you said, it poses great risk.
Plus, if your plan is dependent on a ship in orbit, we need to actually contact the ship in orbit, which will both need our runabout for and potentially a way to actually overcome the interference which is stopping that.
Yes, of course. Very well. Okay.
Let's go then.
Alright,
So I feel we need to communicate this with the Chief Minister rather than just...
I know, alright. Well, we need basically any kind of map, full maps of the planet. Maybe
Particularly this wasteland area.
I'd say also any
very well.
Any history or folk tales, any kind of stories from that area that involves any particular kind of structures, even if it might be like deemed as sort of like myth. There's still always a grain of truth to tales like that might show us some sort of insight.
Okie dokie. So then, we have a number of things to try. So yes, Chief Minister Turrell will ask for whatever records that you require to be available to be brought to you in order to assist with this. So likewise, it seems like Edwards is going to be looking into local folklore and stuff to see what you can derive from that. Anybody else doing anything in particular?
Well, the cross-referencing is more the whole because it's kind of it's tall tales. It shouldn't be ignored because it could
There's
still
always a
lead
grain
to
of
something.
truth to come from myth and
And
legend
also
has a
obviously
basis of something.
Because at that point in time, this kind of technology might be seen like magic, which is a reasonable leap of logic to do so. Given how old the Tilical tech is, it could easily fit into that category.
Okie dokie. Anybody else got anything they want to be doing then in that regard, or other regards?
Keeping a close eye on our Klingon friends.
Well, at the moment, they seem
was
to be
gonna say
terribly amused by all. Sorry, I talked over Sean there.
I was just going to say that I was going to be doing the same.
Yeah. While all this is going on, then the Klingons are largely amusing themselves at the talk to do with the Prime Directive and whatnot. They are scoffing hard at that. In the meantime, however, Natala wanted access to what was it, geological surveys or whatnot of the area that they suggested.
Yes.
Okay, that's cool.
Is it worthwhile as potentially trying to launch the shuttle to see the Carpathian to see if it can get into orbit?
If you want to.
To then relay communications to the ship.
I'd say definitely see Edwards and Atala working together, because then we can cross-reference each other, given the sources we're looking at.
Indeed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you two are keeping an eye on the Klingons. You two are doing the do with the local records and whatnot. So that kind of leaves the Doc, Bravo, Thazanan, and Natik to do something.
Natik has attached himself to the dock because the dock is obviously not trustworthy and is going to wander off and be distracted.
All this plant life.
Look at how excited we got about Most. This is a tree.
Funny enough, since the plan came up of, we're basically going to have this civilization supplant a developing civilization on the other planet. Bertram has completely not been distracted or been looking at all any of the plant-based stuff that he'd normally be fascinated with.
Which makes sense in Natik even more suspicious of the Doctor.
Consider that
He's up to something.
insectoids indies are entirely based their culture more or less on paranoia. Everyone wants to have our eggs.
Yep.
The doc
it's
will
all fiction all the time.
the doc will actually sort of suggest if this group maybe go back and see if they can either pilot the Carpathia back or use its technology to try and remake control of the Navis. At the very least, we can update the Navis what's going on. Maybe they can help with orbital sensors and also potentially send word to Starfleet about the situation, so Starfleet might be able to actually send some more ships to help with evacuation if it becomes necessary. I think either way we do need to get back to the Carpathia fairly quickly to actually try and have the best chance of success.
Okay. Well, if you ask, Captain Thema will say that he can... pardon me, Captain Thema's a she. She can put a couple of security agents to accompany you so that you can ride sleds to go back to your shuttle, runabout rather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless Andrew says otherwise.
No, I'm fine with that suggestion.
Okay.
Alrighty. So, first thing I'm going to deal with then is... like I said, the Klingons are pretty much amusing themselves at the whole thing with the Prime Directive. Something which I won't go into any detail of at the moment. That's just making fun of it, basically. Natala and Edwards, then. Let's first have a look at you guys, looking at cultural stuff and geological studies. So do you want to do your own separate things, or do you want to combine forces to...
I think combined makes more sense, as we both have information that we could work together and cross-reference.
Okay, so who's going to be primary, who's going to be secondary? We're probably looking at some kind of insight and science check here, so...
Don't mind either or.
pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
You have your archaeology. I have my scans.
So yeah, Edwards is looking at this from the cultural studies standpoint.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we could do it separate if you want, but I think it thematically it works better together. So,
Plus, Natala's
she's-
parent figure allows you to ignore the first complication that happens on check, so...
I'll say Natala is the commander, so it would be her decision on this one. Edwards would defer.
I think going off the solid data in front of Natala makes more sense to be the lead with the
But it'll be backed up
more
by the...
inspiration stuff.
Yeah.
They could be backed up by the cultural studies. Yep, that's fine with me. So, Natala's...
I'd like to nab a momentum then.
Natala's focus is...
Well, this
Don't-
is sensor data. It isn't sensor reading.
In a way, yeah, okay, I can go with that. I can go with that. That's a nice justification. And Edwards is cultural studies will lead for his own ones. This is going to be difficulty, let's say 2. So that's from Natala. You've already got one over what you needed. And it looks like somebody bought an extra dice.
I did mention it, unless this is not coming through.
I didn't catch that, sorry, but you did both roll enough successes that all those momentum spent are recouped.
Let's remember I do have to roll action dice because of untapped potential to see if you get a extra point of threat. If I get an effect.
You do not.
Okay then, because we're already at max momentum. We don't get any extra momentum.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Interestingly enough, there don't appear to be any geographical data that suggests that they've ever come across things like what Nova/Sean mentioned, obelisks and pyramids and that kind of thing. Which isn't wholly unusual because, as was suggested with like SETI Alpha 5, that facility was very thoroughly buried underground. The same went for the facility you found at the very first episode on Seku 6. So the fact that there are no external overt remnants of Tilical civilization does not necessarily mean there aren't any. There are some... Let me think. There are some geological readings that have been taken in the area that was indicated that suggested it is the mineral deposits around the area particularly dense, and the Lumerians were only interested in it for whether or not they could build more of their tree cities on it. As a result, these people don't seem to spend an awful lot of time with any kind of mining of metals all that much. At least not until recently, it seems, with their anti-grav technology. But the materials needed for that kind of thing were not found in the locale. But interestingly enough, the geological survey data of the area you're looking at seems a bit flat, or at the very least seems a bit too generic. Almost as if scans didn't penetrate that far into the crust, and they just kind of, well, there's nothing there that interests us, and they didn't pursue it any further. Culturally, there don't seem to be any references to like angels or sky gods or any kind of creature that that suggests that they came from the sky, which is usually a metaphor for, you know, visitors from beyond, and folks that could fashion moons or whatnot. But interestingly enough, there does appear to be a cultural reference to the fact that early star charts, primitive star charts, suggest there were so many stars in their sky. But then at one point, tens of thousands of years ago, a bright star appeared in the sky, which would match with the system records of the second planet. So it seems that these, if you are taking the obvious message from the cultural lore seriously, it suggests that Orgun II, the other M-class planet, wasn't necessarily native to the system.
It was either launched here from somewhere else or was artificially created.
Is there? Oh no, you said the instability was only happened months ago, wasn't it? Part of me is just like, was there actually noted any kind of atmospherical kind of changes in this planet from the arrival of the other?
That was not indicated, other than the fact that, you know, a new star appeared. Sorry, John, what was that?
They do very neat work to accomplish adding a planet to a system without disrupting the environment of one already present.
Stop that. It's been a while.
I'm thinking more and more we might need to check out the other planet to agree, because I was wondering if something might be happening there which is affecting this one.
I mean, if people here were capable of recording the incident, that's a huge accomplishment even to start with.
Alright.
Extinction event.
With that in mind, let us move to the other team. As you find yourselves back aboard the Carpathia. So let's mark out people who are not gonna be there. Those guys aren't there. So it was Bravo, Bertram, Natik, and Thazanan that went off to recapture the Carpathia. I say recapture. Find the Carpathia, and nobody else is present in the back of the ship. Okay, cool. So, yeah, the Lumerian security team take you off on their little grav sleds, and they escort you to where you left the Carpathia. You obviously don't need to be concerned about keeping it covered now, so the camouflage netting that was used, or the other bits of shrub and whatnot that were used to try and mask its appearance for any curious passers-by, can just be easily taken off. And you gain access to the runabout systems itself. So, while you're here, what would you like to do?
First, see if we can actually get the Carpathia to contact the Navis.
So this is going to be essentially a control and science or a control and engineering check, aided by the Carpathia's communications and engineering, I would say. So, who reckons that they have what it takes to do the control and engineering check? There's not many of those who have got any focuses specific to it, so we've got a 12 and a 3. Sorry, what was that, Jan?
I don't have a focus, but I've got a 12 and a 3.
I've got 11 3, but again, no focuses.
So the two of you should be pretty good.
Yep.
Leaving the two security guys to just, watch on and be impressed.
If we get it right. As you got the 12 and I've got 1 point less, do you want to go primary and me support, Jan?
Sounds good.
And we'll have Sean, you can be the Carpathia.
Alrighty.
The Carpathia will be using communications and engineering, and will be rolling 1 dice.
I think I'll use a point of momentum as well, just in case.
Oh, okay, yep.
Cool.
So you got 3, that's 4 for you, and that's 5 for the Carpathia, so that's the maximum amount we got. Okay, 2 successes from the Carpathia. Nice. 1 from Bertram, and then loads of successes from Commander Thazanan. So yes, between all of you working together, or both of you working together, you manage to put some additional power into the comm system, and you do manage to successfully punch through the interference and communicate with the Navis.
Okay. Does Kaval want to talk to them, or shall I talk while you prep the shuttle in case we need to launch?
We still have comms with the rest of the away team, because then we can maybe set up a relay as well.
With that many successes that you just accomplished, I'll say yeah. That you could easily set that. Be the case.
Do we want to talk to Navis first, then set up the relay? Because we're going to need to update them with what the scientists and Lumerians want to do, and I don't know if we want to risk them overhearing basically our reservations, because they seem highly strung.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it's up to you if you want to roleplay that out, or if you just want to state that that's what you say. It's entirely your choice.
I'm fine with role playing if Jan is, and if Matt is.
Yeah. So
sure.
Essentially, let me get back my ship sounds and whatnot. Doo-doot. We read you, away team. This is Navis. Go ahead.
Carpathia. We're calling to report on what we're finding and request assistance.
What are your findings, Commander?
We found the ship. The ship is essentially, from what the engineers tell me, a write-off. The best we could ever hope to do is tow it off. It will never fly by itself again. They took many casualties, but a small group of them survived, led by Dr. Sherman. They are currently with the Lumerians, the native peoples of this planet. They are not yet at warp capability, but they do have anti-grav technology and indicate some ability to manipulate gravity potentially with their technology. There is also the issue that this world is being, for the last few months, has been under siege by increasing tremors and geological activity, to the point where the planet is threatened. Well, we can't confirm at the moment. We are suspecting a potentially similar cause for compared to other planets we've seen in the Shackleton Expanse who have undergone similar issues. Dr. Sherman and his group are eager to evacuate the Lumerians from the planet. Their plan is to create some sort of gravity bridge. I admit, I look at the others and say, if I'm not familiar with the technology, I'm a doctor, so if I make any mistakes for that, I apologise and do correct me. My concern is their intention is to try and transplant as many of the Lumerians onto the other M-class planet in the system. They are not particularly keen on regarding the rights of the civilization of that planet.
They are civilians and therefore exempt from the Prime Directive, something which I've never been entirely certain why is the case.
That's true.
Starfleet is drawn to more exacting standards, I suppose.
But they are attempting to pressure us into getting our help and the help of the Navis as well, which began basically an argument over the Prime Directive, which has been put aside while we try and actually find what's happening and see if there's any way to actually stop this destruction at the source, or at least buy time and also clear this electromagnetic disappearance in the atmosphere, which is going to stymie any effort.
See.
The two requests I'd like to make. The first is to make a request to Starfleet to see if they can actually begin with haste some sort of evacuation effort. While they're not technically at warp speed at this point, they have been pretty much contaminated by outside influences, especially if it is what we suspect is at work here. We'd also like to actually request the Navis' help in seeing if we can track down the source of these disturbances, which I suspect would also be the source of this electromagnetic disturbance.
Very well. To the first, we can dispatch a message to Starfleet to ask for further information, but I can tell you this.
Yeah.
With the situation with Cardassia joining the Dominion as of late, Starfleet has been redeploying the majority of the fleet to cover, well, Cardassia, and any attempts the Dominion might make to cross past into our borders. And, as you also know, the 20th Fleet, which we are stationed to explore the Shackleton Expanse, is only 3 vessels. Granted, one of them's a Galaxy class. What's the population of the Lumerians?
Does that come up?
I believe it
6
was
million.
6 million.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
6 million.
Even with a Galaxy class, that is going to be extraordinarily difficult. I agree with your current assessment, Away Team. First of all, priority needs to be given to seeing if you can find the root cause and maybe whether or not you can take away this interference. If not, solve the actual geological instability that you claim is going on. Not that I indicate I doubt you, but for safety reasons, that's what I have to state.
Understood.
Continue with your plan then, Away Team, and let us know of the outcome. In the meantime, we'll conduct sensor scans. Was there an area particular that you were interested in, or did you want to attempt a blanket scan of the surface?
The group that's remained at the Lumerian settlement has been starting work as we left to try and work out where the most likely sites could be with both their geological knowledge and local knowledge, and also historical knowledge for potential sites. Commander Fazanan believes that we can set up a relay so that we can put the Navis in communication through the Carpathia with the rest of the Away Team, so that we can consolidate our efforts on both sides.
Very well. Now is probably the good time to set up the relay then.
Understood. We'll update you as soon as the relay is completed.
With that in mind, I take us back to the settlement as a whole, so that we've still got these guys present, just so that you got ease of access too. So, those of you who are back at the settlement, you get the comm badge chirp that indicates a message is coming through. So this will more than likely be from Commander Fazanan, letting you know that communication is now possible. So, if you're ready to, we can set up the communication relay can be set up with the Navis, and you can go from there.
Yep.
Unless there's anything you want to do first.
I think it's a good idea to set up as quickly as possible.
Okay. Everyone good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Nice. Alright then. Relay complete. Away Team, this is the Navis.
Resume loud and clear, Captain.
Stand by for scans. Commander Natala, there was an area you wanted specifically scanned, yes?
Natala being the only one who's not currently wearing a comm badge is told this information.
I'll pass. Edwards will pass her his.
Captain, there's a area where the preliminary scans, gravimetric sonar sort of situation that the locals have set up for finding decent root structures for their 3 towers. It doesn't go very deep, but in this case it didn't have to. There's this area of wasteland here, indicating some 100 kilometers east of this metal site, where there's a large area which simply reads as flat.
Understood. Very well. Stand by. We conduct a scan of the area. So, I'm just gonna move us quickly to the Navis, because either mono or cursed. So let's go for bridge ambience. leave the ambience on because it's going back and forth between everybody. So back on the bridge. Yes, certain folks aren't there, but that's fine. Does Mono have? He's mostly about quantum mechanics or astro.
Census is cursed.
Yes. So let's probably have cursed, and somebody can be the Navis. So who hasn't rolled in a bit? And would like to be the Navis. I'm looking at entirely the wrong place.
Caval?
No, Jan has actually rolled recently, so...
I don't think
Davis
I've rolled.
hasn't,
No.
and neither have you.
Yeah, Davis hasn't. Yeah.
Well, are we letting Davis near dice yet? Or...
Yeah, he's allowed.
You sure?
Yeah.
He's a primary character who's actually on the ship.
Good point, actually.
Good point.
Vibus is just like, I'll bring up some more power from the warp core.
Wum, wum,
So, what
wum,
am I
wum,
rolling?
wum, wum, wum.
Sensors and...
Let's see, sensors and... Ooh, science, yeah, makes sense.
And what do you want from Cursed?
Cursed, Mr. Webby, will be control and science with a focus on sensors. Let's make this difficulty 2.
Everyone alright if we burn a momentum?
I've lost my thingy again. Nothing from the ship. Interferences.
Can Cursed get assistance from engineering?
Well, she got what she needed.
So you burn some momentum specifically to get a complication.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Right.
What?
Okay, no, that's fine. I can look at that. Alright, so the interference is causing a headache for sensors. Whoop. Blimey, what was that?
Weird sound?
Sorry, that was me. Glass rubbed against the side of my microphone as I grabbed a drink.
I thought we had a sudden attack by penguin there for whatever reason. Does penguins sound like that, Matt? Interesting.
That's what the
They could
penguin
be.
was attacking Webby would definitely say.
Right,
Sorry, I've got a stomachache and might have to drop off early.
okay, if you're not feeling well, then that's entirely a prerogative, my dude.
Enjoy.
Thanks for getting this far with us. Take care of yourself. Ouch, stomachache. Cool. Talk about getting it through. And I didn't mean to make that joke. I didn't.
Yes, you did. Don't lie.
A little bit, but maybe not entirely. Right, okay, so yes, the interference is causing a headache for the sensors, and Cursed tries to clear it up as best as she can. But she does can get additional power to the sensors from from the engine, so as a result a point of power does get shunted off the main power grid in order to assist with sensors, and
Nova's not on board. She gets to just distribute power as she wishes. She's like, I need power.
well, yeah, basically Hello is just there with all his numerous more power, more power. Boop, boop, boop. In any case, the area that was indicated does seem to be the source of a strange underground power signature. The power signature is very strong and does seem to be the primary contributor to the interference in the atmosphere. Cursed can't get any definite readings due to the interference, but it does seem like there is a cave system in that area, and potentially an opening has been made thanks to the recent tremors. But that's the best that she can give you. So, let's zip ourselves back to the surface. With this information in mind, what would you like to do?
the fact that it's opened up, there's a potentially a way in. I think it's worthwhile that we have to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's the source of the tremors. If we can eliminate the source of the tremors, we don't need the to look at the planned gravity sled.
As was our mission objective, states Captain Darker. My Klingons and I can accompany you to this cavern in case you encounter difficulties. However, if you are uncomfortable with us going, I can leave most of my warriors behind and only take one. In case you are not feeling safe with us.
I think it's more you that's not feeling safe with me.
He just arches an eyebrow at that. We will be requiring our weapons, however. And Lieutenant Bravo, security, will probably make the same kind of assessment, because if you are going into an unknown situation, you will be wanting your defensive means back, so... The Lumerians, if you ask, appear to be amenable to giving you your stuff back, so they put up no protestations in that regard. Perhaps we should leave some of my Klingons behind to guard the scientists, just in case.
I would possibly ask that Natik stays back then. I don't like leaving the civilian scientists in the hands of the Klingons when they're talking about creating a gravity sled.
Klingons? Left in charge of civilians?
Yeah, exactly.
I request to stay behind, Commander.
Paranoid Ensign is paranoid. Besides which, Natik could take him.
Yeah, he can. That's the...
Let's actually look. Hang on. 2. There's... Hang on, how many did you... Yeah, we have. Natik's tough, damn it. Oof. Okay. You've got a location, you've got the possibility that there is an entrance to the tunnels. So, with that in mind, let's send you guys to the proper place. If those guys aren't coming along, and neither is Natik, then we'll just lower the number. Yep.
Are any of the Lumerians interested in coming along?
The Lumerians could come along if you want them to, but they are happy to transport you there and stay out of your way because you guys seem to know what you're doing.
They have transport to take. Oh, no, or they're just using their vehicles.
The grav sleds, you know, they'll physically
yeah.
transport you there on the grav sleds.
Can we drive?
Can you try? Well, they seem a bit uncertain, but one of them is like, all right. And we'll give Nova a crash course, not literally a crash course, I hope, in how to actually pilot the grav sleds.
Nova just like, I don't need instruction manual for this.
Right into a tree.
And take one apart, so crashing might be an option.
So yeah, if Nova wants to fly one, I just realised my momentum and threat has gone again. But okay, you guys are on your way. Nova has far too much fun flying this grav sled, and rather than fly in close formation with everybody else, Nova is experimenting with different pitches and rolls and whatnot because, you know, the grav clamp allows you to stay attached to the sled whilst the power system still operates, even if you go, you know, upside down. So it's intense amounts of fun. It's You
Poor
basically
Lumerians just like. "Bleh, bleh, bleh,
Regretting
bleh,
his decision wholeheartedly.
bleh."
yes, the Elomian on the back of Nova's sled might be a little bit, shall we say, travel sick by the end of it, but
Green.
unless you actively want them to accompany you inside the cavern, they are all right with staying outside and allowing you to do whatever you need to do. So, what's the consensus? Do you want to bring the Lormians along as witnesses, or maybe not get them too involved in case they get hurt?
That would be Edward's opinion. Well, not in case they could get hurt if we brought along them, we'd be putting them in that danger.
Okay.
Well, it's their planet. They
I
they
was
have
going
the
to say
right.
voluntary basis based on it being their planet.
Yeah.
Of course, there's also the thing that it's an outside technology.
If the Lormians are given
better-
the choice, they would rather stay outside
There we go. Then.
and
That's
guard
that.
the entrance. So, if you're asking them their choice, that is the option they will go for. Okay. So you do come across a rather arid, rocky landscape eventually, and surely enough, it does show signs of seismic upheaval, like pretty much everything else. I forgot to mention, actually, during the time that you've been watching the Klingons, doing the cultural studies, and fiddling with the Carpathia's communication system, there have been subsequent and frequent earth tremors of the same kind of intensity. Nothing yet has the Lormian settlement has been damaged, but there's certainly a lot of groaning and shaking going on in the inside these tree towers. But to the caverns. Now you may need to scroll down and left a bit. I say scroll, move the map down and left to find the entrance. Everything inside looks almost like volcanic rock, almost. That's almost twice in the same sentence, I apologize. Bad grammar.
Bad grammar. Sit in the corner.
So,
All this underground rock. You know who we should have brought? Claude.
Yeah. Totally should have, but I was vetoed against it.
Well, you should have tried harder.
alright, you're inside. You have free use of your tokens. Feel free to go.
Basically start scanning down the way. Actually, is there any way we could potentially send out some sort of signal and basically use it like to map part of the path, like a sonar?
Sure.
Echolocation.
Yeah. That's where we're
Before someone just runs off ahead, never mind.
What is the lighting conditions in this tunnel?
Pretty poor.
Would that be reason and engineering?
Yeah. Yes, I can agree with that. At least the one with the blue hair is bolder than the rest of you, says Darken. 3 successes. Go on.
Sorry. Gavel will stick to the side wall on the side. Just to make
Basically,
sure we-
wait for the signal to bounce back and for mapping.
I have once again lost my momentum and threat things, even though I reloaded. So if somebody could add 1 to the momentum pool, please, that would be awesome. I'm going to try reloading again. See if it'll give it to me.
Give
See
it
if it
to me,
actually
baby.
brings it.
Uh-huh.
And all the Goylem say is pretty fly for
Pretty
a
fly
rabbi.
for a rabbi. Bow, 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 bow.
Right,
Bow,
got
bow,
it.
bow.
Cool. Okay. Alright, as Nova and Thazanan get to this section, they notice an awful lot of boulders and debris.
If only we had a geologist to tell us if it was recently fallen from the ceiling.
Well, a reason in science or an insight in security from either or both of yourselves would potentially give you that data. Or that information, rather, I would say.
Insight and security. Ooh. Not great.
Yeah, that's not bad. One success. Is Nova giving it a go? Of course, Nova's giving it a go. 2 successes. Okay. This, Fazanan's not sure, but Nova reckons this part of the tunnel is unstable and could potentially collapse. However, Nova notices certain sections look more stable than others. So basically, if you avoid the bits where there's debris, you should be able to proceed safely through it. It'll slow you down a bit, but you should be able to safely proceed.
Do I get anything back on the signal to map the full extent of the tunnel?
You can only get a certain radius because there does seem to be something that's inhibiting the scan, which does track with what you got from the Lumerians.
Okay.
So, oh look! Did you just cross over a bit that wasn't entirely stable? Look at that!
I was being dragged against my will, apparently.
Edwards has just got his head down and is looking at his tricorder as everyone else is there going, "What?"
That went a bit odd. I was trying to be just the 3 I was taking, and then all of a sudden it just went to the side. It's like, what? It said it was stuck, then it like caught up.
I need you. Alright, I am going to need the forward group to give a control and security check. Now, the fact that Nova's so close behind you might lessen the potential disaster of this, but we'll see.
As a...
One success. Oh dear.
Well, I haven't done for the rest of them yet, so are we doing them individually or as a group?
Individually, please. So, Davis, if you want to take over, I don't know.
Bravo nailed it.
Bravo nailed it. So, Davis, if you want to take over Natala.
I don't know. It's sort of like, he just gets promoted to ensign and then he murders sort of like several senior crew officers.
Like the rocks start falling on Bravo. Bravo just looks it up and they pulls him in the air and just shoot right back into the ceiling.
Right?
What was that, sorry?
Fencing counts, right?
Control and security is fine. One success. Okay. So, in the haste to get there without fully noticing what's going on. Oh, aren't you lucky? I rolled a 3, a 3, and a 4. Right. Nova is just about able to yell a warning, and Bravo, with all those successes, grabs both Natala and Edwards and hauls them out of the way as more debris comes landing, crashing down where you would otherwise have been. You get the stare from the security chief. Bravo basically going, please stop making my life harder. The Klingons are just kind of following your lead at the moment. So like I said, any areas where there's actual big blocks of debris would appear to be the bits to avoid. But, on you go. So I'm going to. I'm not going to ask you to now start dodging your tokens all around the place. You're free to move them as you will now, knowing that the team is now sufficiently warned against the perils of not looking where they're going or where they're putting their feet, or what's above them rather. So feel free to carry on. As such, I'm going to move the Klingons up a bit. So yeah, at least I've got the sense to to follow recommendations. The forward group notices that the tunnel kind of ends and then opens out into a massive cavern. The bottom of the middle portion of which seems to be a massive hole in the ground. A ravine that goes down pretty well further than you can currently see. So yes, Nova is on the edge, and you definitely cannot see the bottom from where you're currently stood.
Can I throw a rock down?
Yep, you can knock one down, and you hear it clatter off the walls, clack, 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 clack. And you start counting in your head to try and gauge the distance, and you do count to a good 20 before you hear it hit the bottom way down there.
I could jump that.
All I'm thinking now is, fool of a took, throw yourself in next time.
You
And
probably
there's
could
our
jump
cross-franchise
that, don't you?
reference.
Yes, you probably could jump that, Nova. I don't think you would survive.
Just waking up the Balrog.
It's just that voice in your head, though. It's like, damn, good job.
Go on.
You don't even need to jump it. You could just step.
Hi, I'm
But
your
you've got to jump and do it in
conscience.
style.
We've not spoken in a while.
Hang on, wait a second. Andrews to Claw. We need you here now. It just beams in
Sorry,
and just steps
Commander.
off. Just
Too many buttons in transporter room.
You must believe, boy. You must believe.
Only a leap from the lion's head will he prove his worth.
Ah, he missed.
Or rather, he missed. He missed. Right then, on we go. So yes, there
David.
appear to be two means of getting around, one of which looks less, has less room than the other.
Did anybody bring a rope?
That would have been sensible thinking, wouldn't it?
but we didn't know to
We
expect a
don't
rope.
need rope.
We have science. Right, who have we got? Has we got everybody? Yes, more or less.
Maybe we can fit a grab sled in here.
Well,
No, there's a plan.
so the ravine is, well, there are platforms on either. I say platforms. There are walkways on either side. Obviously, this one going eastwards has a lot less room to maneuver, whereas the one going north has more room. Feel free to make your own judgment as to which you feel safer going along.
Actually, I hope you scan to see which one seems more stable.
I think Nova's going to head right because she wants to see what this thing is here. Looks interesting. Completely.
Entirely your prerogative. Okay, so I'm going to ask for a fitness and security check with a difficulty of 3 from those two going that way.
I'm going to stand here to act as an emergency if I need to bail out to rescue either of them.
suppose the question is it individual or can we help each other?
I'm alright with you helping each other. Because,
Would you like me to point out where to step? As I have 11 fitness and 5 security, and also have survival training as a foci.
survival training would probably have told you not to get on this narrow a ledge in the first place, but who am I to say?
I know, but now that they're going that way, it's like...
In the event of away team stupidity when crossing very narrow ledges, please refer to the following guidelines.
Here is how a team should survive. Now turn to this glossary for additions on how Nova might survive.
I'm really tempted to actually burn my determination to stop dying.
Star across!
Oh, yeah, good idea.
2 successes for any roll that rolls equal to or less than twice your discipline score. Okie dokie. So both are using Starcross. Like I said, this is going to be fitness and security.
I'm not sure who, but
Difficulty 3.
that's slightly better if you want to take the lead.
Sure.
The hat of blame has been moved, okay.
I mean, Nova's happy to do it, it's just...
Actually,
We all remember Commander Faznan, recently promoted to the rank of commander, threw himself into a ravine and died.
Ironically, all Fazan has to do, he has to kick a rock just before him, get on top of the rock and pilot it down.
I think I'd rather use the Legion of Honor because I think a complication here could be very bad.
Yep. Good point, actually.
You had a good run?
In that case, I am going to up the I'm going to up the complication range by 1 because.
Alright, so I guess I'm primary.
Which means secondaries should go first.
Ready.
Okay, 1 dice. I think it was fitness and security.
I've paid a momentum to take it extra.
Okay. Oh, hello.
Oh, Legion of Honor.
Okay, that was better. Right. Okey spooky. Legion of Honor, so you ignore the complication. Right then. Never happened. So that's actually how many successes? Lots.
Well, 5, because my Legion of Honor adds 2, because it's not used for complication.
So definitely net you it back. Okay. You managed to somehow successfully negotiate this particular narrow ledging. It's when you get to these bits, and then this bit here, that it becomes a problem. However, you got 5 successes, which means that, well, even though crazy luck would have said otherwise, and that's probably where that complication came in, where somebody jumped across that large gap and almost didn't quite make it, if not for the efforts of one of their fellows, so either Andrews or
Andrews wasn't going with them. Andrews was just getting ready to rescue them if they did.
In that case, it was more than likely Thazanan that grabbed hold of Nova before she fell, so...
You've been dragged along.
Which makes sense. Which makes sense considering the number of extra successes that Caval did get. So, that was a very near miss. If you hadn't have used Legion of Honor to set that back, and had one in readiness to go as well, that specific precipitous drop could have been the end of you. However, somehow you managed to make it across, which means the 2 of them are more than likely at the top entrance first, because it's slightly less far to go around. Only slightly, however. Whereas the rest, they have a lot more room to maneuver in order to get there as well. So,
which side do the Klingons go along?
They go in the same one as the sensible ones.
Well, we'll just look at them and shake his head.
So even though I'm going to place everybody up kind of here.
Yeah, and Andrews will make sure that she's near both Bertram and Natala, as those two have the noodly arms of the group.
Start a buddy system.
Yeah.
We're walking in the air. All right. So yeah, the first team are there and managed to get a close look at a mostly straight cut. What's the word I'm looking for? Tunnel. Proceeding off of this this ravine. This empty space before them, but everyone eventually manages to make it across without many problems. Daredevil stunts by a certain ops officers notwithstanding. But hey, she's got a reputation, Dan.
Yeah. Are you two done defying death? Or do we want to go again?
I'm gonna keep on defying death until I die.
Righty.
How good your reflexes at the moment, Kamal? Can make it very quick for you.
Oops, he fell in. Oh. Boy.
Oh, but there's handprints on his uniform. It looks like he was pushed. He fell in.
He wasn't pushed, Commander. You tried to rescue him.
I definitely did. Thank you.
Thank you for the sorry, promotion.
I bet I'll ace the landing.
Yeah, probably.
Lands perfectly, and then his knees just snap upwards, and he's just lying on the floor like, well, I can't walk now.
Edward's just yelling, "Do a flip!"
Do a power run.
All right.
Use bombs wisely.
Miss the ground.
Do better.
Try harder.
Can we move a bit further forwards, please?
Even if it's narrow, there's still enough room for folks to move. And this tunnel system seems to be a lot more stable than the one you entered at originally. So you do have the ability to move more freely in this particular place. Widens out a bit where Thazanan and Nova are currently at. I'll bring the Klingons along. And they'll be muttering the entire while. Yeah. Hypocrisy at its finest, this Prime Directive. Hampers you more often than it helps you, really. And yet, for all your protestations of not wanting to, what's the word you use, pollute other cultures, you seem to do plenty of that yourselves when you invite them into your federation.
Who won the war?
At this point, they're more hangers-on than Klingon.
Oh, if I could give you one momentum for that.
I mean, technically you can.
I can, but there's nowhere to put it. I'll tell you what, I'll knock down
Well,
the threat pool then.
We could spend it straight away and ask a question.
Sure.
Spent a momentum to ask who won the war.
Yeah, who won? Yeah, this is just a question. Who won the war? Well, technically the Cardassians won the war.
Well, I was going to say. Alrighty. At least the Org are honest about their assimilation of other cultures.
There's something up ahead.
Oh, he wants to say hello to you.
Oh, no, that's actually, you got the Bertram. Put that down.
You don't know where it's been.
Just imagining Edwards just casually picks up the doctor. Wait a minute.
This will not look good on your next medical.
Oh no, I should be lifting with my knees, not my back.
I diagnose you with a severe lack of Moss knowledge. It'll be compulsory for you to turn up to every lecture.
But you say that to everyone.
There does appear to be... Whoa, she's gone right up there. Okay.
How to test it? Walk up and breathe in.
Give it a good sniff.
All right
Pass
then.
the sniff test.
Is it a gas or a liquid?
It looks like some kind of
Yes.
gas is escaping through fissures in the rock into this area. Now, there are what appear to be almost like walkways that have naturally occurred within the rock along this side that are acting like ledges. The gas appears to be fairly heavy, so rather than floating upwards, is staying down low to the ground. Nevertheless, with Nova being right up in there and giving it the old sniff test, if you do, this is going to be a fitness and security check for you. Pretty please. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and an effect. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the stress damage is not so much. I say damage. The stress effect is not so dangerous as much as it is the effect that means that Nova kind of passes out from the inhalation of the gases. Which suggests to everybody looking that these gases are possibly poisonous. So the longer Nova stays there, the more likely it is that she's not going to, well, perish.
I'll get her. Survival training will kick in. I'll wrap sort of like, rip a part of my uniform off, reactivate it, put it as a rag.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And I will then burn preservation of life as determination to get around.
And a fitness and security check for you to see if you can, run in, hold your breath, grab her, fling her over your shoulder, and get out within enough time that you don't start to. Ooh, blimey! Yep. Roll the.
That's 1d6.
And you do not get it back.
Yep.
However, Andrews manages to run in, snatch Nova, fling her over her shoulder, and quickly run out before any severe damage is done. So Nova can be brought around fairly easily. She's just, inhaled gases and therefore got rendered unconscious pretty quickly. This is the equivalent to the kind of gases that come up from volcanoes. So we're talking... what?
Carbon monoxide,
hydrogen sulfide, that kind of thing.
Sulfur dioxide.
Yeah.
Methane.
Doctor will
methane,
sort of do the check on her damage and sort of try it, wave his magic wand to try and heal as much as he can.
Yep, so this is just going to be a basic control and medicine check for Doc Bertram, difficulty all of 1.
Yeah. I'll take it surgery focus.
Yeah. I'll do nicely.
Stern words are going to be said when she regains consciousness. Oh my god, Doctor!
Would you like to burn a determination to re-roll that 20?
I think he's just been waiting for the opportunity.
Yeah, he's just waiting for the opportunity.
Because, this way, Nova can't get into any more trouble because she's unconscious.
Well, I'll remove the complication Legion of Honor.
Okay!
That way, she hopefully won't die, but it'll teach her a lesson.
Technically, I didn't state the complications effect yet, so yes, you managed to get that in there just in time.
Yeah.
So you can bring Nova around.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Yeah, there are going to be some very stern words said.
Can I just say, does it speak badly of me if a player that there's a part of me going, no, keep the complication. That, see how Nova reacts to it. I thought, no, bad Doctor.
It's Nova. Nova won't care.
He goes, we've got good news and bad news, Nova. The good news, you're alive. The bad news, you've only got one lung now.
Yes, the problem that happened had nothing to do with the lip.
It's like, by the way, the lung is
were
here in my
bored.
hand.
Yeah. But the good news is the project I'm working on is templating replacement organs as well as basis for other stuff. Do you want to be a test subject? It's almost complete.
Well, there is a ledge that you can use to bypass the gas, so it's probably
Yeah,
best
there's
that you
going
do
to-
that.
Shall we have? First of all, I say there's going to be some very stern words said on this. It's just not like, what the hell were you thinking? And this is what a tricorder is for, not a sniff test.
It's no adventuring.
I'm just going to move the Klingons up so that they're already... doesn't necessarily mean the Klingons are already going, it just means that they're already there for when you guys do move. But yes, adventure!
There is adventure, and then there is stupidity.
Now, as Val gets further up, he can actually hear the sound of the hissing of steam vents further up.
Steam vents.
So, Lieutenant Edwards, are we likely to encounter fissures of erupting steam and magma?
As we haven't done it yet, get the tricorder out and generally just scan the area. There's
I
also
like how
checking
you
the
said,
air quality.
I like how you said magma in that Dr. Evil kind of way.
Magma.
Yep, there's obviously some kind of underground water system very close by because the humidity has just gone up quite a bit, but there's also the fact that steam and water vapor seems to be... the amount of water vapor in the air is increasing the further closer to this particular junction, or junction turning, that you get. So, once again, I'm gonna... Oopsie daisy, did I get Thaznan? No, I didn't. So I'm just gonna move the Klingons into the assumption that they're not in the lead. They are just
What's
following.
the tectonic stability like in here? Are we noticing the earth tremors?
Yes, you're noticing the earth tremors. Others have occurred whilst you were here. Luckily, well, not whilst you were travelling around the ravine, but there have been subsequent tremors whilst you were down here.
Actually, that's the thing. Start actively keeping an eye out for any kind of pockets of potentially explosive gas or anything like that.
Sticks
Just let
out
Nova
arms
go
to
first.
You shall not pass, says that.
Nova?
Yeah, just let Nova go in front. If she collapses on the floor, it's poisonous.
Huh?
That's the sense of adventure from what they used to do in the Victorian era.
Taking Amanda's permission.
I think you're thinking of Jules Verne.
So there are steam, scalding jets of steam are shooting out of crevasses in the cavern floor. But they're shooting out at various intervals.
Okay.
Clever person. Go on,
Time it.
time it.
I
okay.
think it. Oh no, I was finishing your sentence.
Yeah.
So that's why I went. Oh dear.
Anybody who wants to try and figure out the pattern to it or get the timing of it can give me a reason and science check, difficulty 3.
Science plus what? Sorry.
Reason.
Okay. Um. Gonna need some help. Probably Natala would step in. Oh, actually, I'd defer. I think probably Natala probably got a better foci for this. No, she doesn't.
Utilizing a tricorder means that she could use her sensor's focus.
Okay. Yeah.
That was not here. I think she was assist.
So if someone wants to roll for Natala rather than me doing all of them, and I'll assist.
Cool.
Is Davis quite quiet?
Yes. So, tricorder from Natala. There you go.
I think somebody needs to roll another dice because you've both assisted somebody who has yet to actually have a turn, so...
You want to go for 2, Davis?
Okay.
So just use the reroll results button, just to reroll one more. Just to roll one more dice. Let's see what you get. 18, so 2 successes in total, but you used a tricorder, so that'll bring the difficulty down. Alright, there's definitely a pattern to it. Using the tricorder allows you to get a reading on the build-up of pressure in order to anticipate which ones will go. So, you've got a bit of a jog to get there, because the steam vents start here and they finish all the way down there, so it's going to be a bit of a rapid run for everybody. But with Natala and Edwards telling everybody when to go, everybody should be fine. So, you're all good. You can now proceed down it without the threat of being actually hit by a steam vent.
Yeah.
About there? Or a bit further?
Yep, that's the safe spot. So we just bring the Klingons along.
Come on, Dr. B.
When the Klingons arrive just past Edwards, Captain Darken pulls out his disruptor, has a look at it, pops open the power pack, pulls it out, puts it back in, adjusts some of the settings, slaps it in his hand a couple of times. Lieutenant, junior grade. It appears that my disruptor is no longer operating. I will need a replacement weapon. You carry a Type 1 phaser, correct?
Yes.
May I borrow it, whilst my weapon is inactive?
Look to my commanding officer. Actually, no, that'd be him, wouldn't it, on this one, isn't it? Yep, so
He's in
hand it
charge.
over.
Okay. He looks at it with like...
So, I was going to say, might I take a look at the disruptor, see if I can see... So I attempt a field repair.
Andrews is actually taking resentment that he actually acknowledged Edwards'
The bet.
rank and then
Yes.
completely ignored Andrew.
You may try, Lieutenant. And he holsters his disruptor and hands it over to Edwards. He looks at Edwards' Type 1 phaser and just turns it over. He looks like he's... I feel like I'm going to break this thing when I press its discharge button.
Could there be some kind of effect that's draining power cells?
But yeah, basically, take a look at the disruptor, see if I can work out what's going on with it.
Insight and engineering, please. Meanwhile, the Klingons just press on.
I say we'll be able to push for cultural studies on this, as weaponry and maintenance probably would be quite well embedded into the general culture.
It's a stretch, but I'll allow it. Because as far as Edwards remembers, the majority of Klingon, at least Klingon space technology, came from what they got from the Hurg. So the disruptor appears to be working fine. So if there is a fault with it, you don't know what it could be.
Basically, just obviously looking the other way, power it up, just take a little look.
It powers up. I mean, unless you're going to shoot something with it, which in this place...
No. God, no.
Tell you what. Coward.
However, the Klingons are pressing on ahead.
Okay,
There appears to be an opening in a cavern. Into a cavern some ways ahead,
says the other Klingon.
I'll basically hold back, acting like I'm fiddling with it until Andrews gets here and the Klingons get a bit further ahead.
Okay.
Basically, I just want to, when they're a bit further ahead, surreptitiously go to the commander's like, there's nothing wrong with this weapon. I don't know why they wanted mine, but it worries me, because there is nothing wrong with this. You simply wanted my weapon.
Noted, Lieutenant. Thank you for that. I will offer to swap my Type 2 for the disruptor.
You do.
I'd accept that, because if you feel more comfortable with something Star Trek issue, then Klingon.
Starfleet issue, but yes.
Star Trek issue.
Sorry for Starfleet issue.
No, it's fine. I got what you meant, but
ahead of time you will also have it. Ahead of time you will have it set for stun as well, because he's now gone from cautious to very suspicious over this.
Okay.
I just would reiterate, will not do anything unless commanded or given permission to.
Hurry, Starfleet. There's something here up ahead.
There does indeed appear to be an opening at the... Hang on, let me rephrase this. This tunnel opens out into a narrow cave, but of obvious... what stands out is the fact that completely out of place are these rather familiar configuration of walls with what appears to be a door. This very much looks like a tilical structure embedded into the surrounding cave. The same color to the material, the same almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Etchings that serve a dual purposes, both iconographs and as power distribution.
Is it a weapon?
I think you'll find it's a door, Org.
Start scanning, see if I can pick up any patterns, runes, anything like that that will indicate some sort of labeling or language, like using previous encounters, and obviously it's a translation of the language from the space station.
You don't get much, but what you gather is that there appears to be a lift. Or an elevator.
Maybe we should check for any kind of security protocols.
Cool.
Yep. Switching the tricorder to look for that.
Control and security check.
Obviously using the telecal familiarity.
Yep, that will lower that down, so you should have difficulty of 1.
And focus of ancient technology.
Ancient technology, oh yes. Meanwhile, another tremor occurs and shakes you all, and
Ooh.
You detect no security measures.
Currently detecting no security measures. Any match also any energy readings to see if there's any any repeat from before, just to give an idea of if this is something particular type of technology that we've run into again, like the tractor beam or the transporter.
You can't
or that kind
pinpoint
of thing.
anything specific, but there's definitely a strong tilical energy source coming from somewhere lower down in the cave system, which would make sense if this is a lift or an elevator, as they also say. It probably is going to take you down further into whatever structure lies at the bottom of this lift shaft.
Are we opening this door or what? If you're feeling weak, Starfleet, I can prise it open with my bare hands.
We opened the other ones by licking them.
Okay. Just look to see if you can.
Just getting near them opens them. So Edwards cautiously moves forward with an intent of looking for a button, and as he does, the doors just sigh open. And yes, there appears to be a space beyond that appears to be an elevator box, a lift box.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Going
8, 11, 12.
down.
Going down. Is there enough space for everybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah.
This looks like you've exceeded weight limit, please.
Please lose some weight before proceeding. Let's bring Bravo along as well. In he gets. Alright, so the thing operates pretty much like you expect. The doors close. And then open out when you finally reach the bottom, which was a very swift ride. You could barely tell that you moved at all. But then you open up onto a very familiar tableau. Etchings in the walls are glowing. Large glowing panels on the walls are emitting a light. Screeds of various types of text or runes or something occasionally go past on these screens, but for the most part, what drags your attention is the massive control panel in the middle of a large 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 octagonal chamber.
Kalos' breath.
Scanning again, looking for any kind of safety, security protocols, energy readings, all based off previous readings.
Okay. So the air is hot and dry in here with a very acrid smell. The lights in here do flicker a bit, and charges of electricity course back and forth between along the various walls and crackling between various pieces of alien machinery. Rows of computer and control devices appear to not only dominate the center but also line the walls of the central chamber. Large screens show mostly indecipherable information scrolling past. Up ahead, though, on the primary control panel, something familiar does momentarily flash up on the hologrammatic display hovering above it. A geographic map of the planet, as well as what appears to be a model of the solar system. So, what would you like to do? Well, nobody's talking, so I'm assuming everybody wants to just
Sorry.
maybe get into the middle and start having a look.
What was it? So I don't get anything on like any injuries, any kind of checking for security, any traps.
You haven't
like
found anything yet, no.
Am I close enough now to get a better read on the energy reading to confirm if we're going to find what kind of telecal technology it is?
Well, if you want to try and discover the purpose of this machinery, you're going to have to scan
Get
the
closer and
language
take a
and the
look.
machines themselves, so anybody who wants to and can help out can try an insight or a reason and science, or... So it's going to be insight or reason, plus either science or engineering. Whoever wants to contribute whatever method they want to try and decipher what's going on. The difficulty is going to be 3.
Using telecal familiarity, I'd also like to... I think I'll potentially argument for either of two of my determinations. Those who do not learn from history, as in, like, isn't my first radio to telecal stuff. And after the first time, accidentally set off the self-destruct.
Which suggests that maybe Edwards could lead, but it does have room to be aided by others. So, Matala's probably a good one, but anybody with reasonably good insight and reason, and/or science and engineering. So,
Nova, you saved our lives looking at this one last time.
Nova and Natala, definitely.
I think I'm more for the taking it apart, but I could try.
Captain Darkrun himself does actually bring out what the Klingon equivalent of a tricorder is. It's rather inelegant and big boxy thing, but he nonetheless pulls out Klingon tricorder.
Natala will use her tricorder as well.
Yep, so gets sensor operation off of that. Nova gets us an unfortunate roll at that, but we do get 5 successes overall, so that's a nice amount of... Okie dokie dokie. This machinery seems to be being set up with mostly as a monitor. It monitors geological makeup, electromagnetic field, and atmospheric conditions. It also appears to contain functions for affecting those very things. There appears to be functions on the central control that could affect everything from weather control to geological stability. With those extra successes that you managed to get, and because you've got a full momentum pool, you can get the extra information of these records show that at some point in the past, the second planet was indeed moved into this system, and as such, these control panels were used to shift the orbit of the third planet, what was at that point the second planet, in order to move it out of the path of the second planet that then was deposited in system.
Mm-hmm.
The machinery appears to, at least in part, be able to compensate for the stresses that resulted from this move, which would explain the earlier information that you uncovered, suggesting there was very little effect on this planet when the other planet was introduced to the system. But the one thing that you are all able to glean very easily is that this machinery appears to be malfunctioning. So what would you like to do?
Shall I
it's not
isolate?
functioning,
Oh,
then
sorry.
stabilising it.
Pretty much, as I say, try to isolate how is it functioning.
Well, the first thing you need to do is to try and understand the controls if you want to try and actually get the thing to get repaired. Knowing a machine's purpose doesn't necessarily mean you know how to control it, so you're going to have to learn how to figure out how to manipulate the machine's controls before you can attempt repairs. So whoever wants to get in on this little little act will need to give me a reason and engineering task with a difficulty of 3. Tilical familiarity,
Okay.
of course, assist.
This might be more Nova's bag then, as a lead. Since you did get into the guts of one of these things before.
So, if you're gonna do the do, then do it like you do.
Basically, Ed was like, look to know, was like, as you did say, you're the one at better understanding the hands-on when it comes to these machines. She'd like to lead
which
the turn.
break. To fix or to break.
Fix.
Fix or break, yes. Fix.
Boy shot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Every other one of these that we've found has ended up going self-destruct or nuclear to destroy something.
Natala's going to help with whatever Nova does.
Parent figure will allow Natala to help you ignore the first complication, yes?
The implication of a break is that this planet is doomed.
Hold up. If
Go
one
on,
of the choice. Sorry.
Sorry, and I think that's also the implication if it cannot be fixed, because then the geological processes will just run away, I think.
It's a valid concern. So, if Nova's going to lead, then it's going to be reason and engineering, and whoever assists is going to be using reason and engineering. Your focuses, respectively, as usual, do apply.
I would say I could potentially argue for this belongs in a museum to try and avoid the self-destruct mechanism.
Sure. Looking to preserve it in order to keep it going. I'm fine with that. Makes sense to me.
Based off the previous one.
If
Yes,
Nova's leading this, can I make the argument for daring and she's not going to be wiring it up to standard?
Say that last bit again. Sorry, I didn't quite catch all of that.
She's not going to be wiring it up to standard, so she's going to be doing just power needs to go here, so it's going to be diverted somehow.
Okay.
So using daring rather than reason.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. I gotcha. Yeah, well, Edwards has done his bit, and very well at that. So whatever Nova adds is all added extras. Oof, blimey. The professionals at work.
We don't get complications when it matters.
So yeah, you've managed to figure out how to operate the machine, which means that you can now focus on making repairs. The majority of the damage seems to have occurred just from millennia of neglect. But with all those successes, one thing does become very apparent to you, is that complete repair of this system is no longer possible. The technology is far too complex, and a full restoration of these systems might take years of studying. But a partial repair might at least be able to extend the machine's operation. So in order to attempt a repair, folks, whoever wants to get involved in this can give me insight or reason and science, and or the other person can make daring or control and engineering, both with a difficulty of 3, in order to try and get this thing stabilized, at least temporarily. So I would suggest if a Nova is getting involved in this, then it's going to be daring and engineering for Nova. With Edwards...
Would be insight and engineering?
Can be insight and science, or insight and engineering, either would work. Reason works as well as insight, but
we have
insight makes a bit more sense.
Leading. Oh.
Have we added it? Did we just add a Natala? We
Yep.
did. So Natala gave us that, which is good. Natala's helping work on this thing. So it's not just this primary console. Sorry, Davis, I talked over you there.
Natala's involved because Nova needs an adult.
Right, yes, of course. So these guys who are working on this are not necessarily confined to just working on the central console. You do have to dip out and attack some of these other constructions that line the areas. But yes, that is 1, 2, 3, which means you get exactly what you needed. Nice. So the machinery has less, the general machinery and the air of the place, there's less coruscating currents of corpuscent and electricity moving along the walls and through the various components within this place. So it seems all of that electrical power and whatnot coruscating along the walls was not actually a feature of the place at all. As a result, you reckon that you've reduced the geological and electromagnetic disturbances on the planet. However, the data that's coming through the monitoring systems suggests that even though you've done a good deal to repair what's been done, the stability of the planet has only been extended by about 6 months. But by that point, the systems will inevitably fail, and that will be when the planet will start to break apart. So you've managed to gain them 6 months at most.
So if that's all that we can do here, then we start going on to documenting and scanning.
Okay. It's at this point that Captain Darkrun pulls out and fires.
Please say Andrews was watching this to try and stop it.
And vaporize. Punches a button, and then pockets it back in his tunic. Revenge is a dish best served cold. There is a Klingon ship in orbit that will be receiving the data I have just sent, indicating that a Klingon was just killed by a cowardly phaser blast from behind.
I'd like to point out, Captain, that I'm cybernetic and I record everything that happened, so good luck defending that in a court.
And your bionics can't be tampered with in any way, shape, or form to support your version of events. Of course.
Not since I had this fitted onto the back of my neck.
Convenient. But perhaps my fellow Klingons will not believe this. That is why the ship that is about to receive the data that I have transmitted along with a signal booster will be departing the orbit of this planet very shortly, as they have been under cloak and tracking the movements of the Navis whilst we have been in this system. They will be departing as soon as they receive this data packet, and they can then make of it as they will. He then draws his bat'leth. But of course, this story wouldn't be complete without a final heroic last stand by Captain Darkrun, as he faces off against those traitorous Federation dogs who shot one of his officers in the back. So this is where you show me how far you are willing to go. If you spare me, then I promise you, I will not stop, ever, trying to bring vengeance upon you. I will try and foil everything that you do from this point onwards, unless you kill me here and now.
Yeah, I
never said it was for me.
No. Edwards just said that aloud.
Yeah.
But know that I will not spare any of you. You will have to kill me.
I'd like to say that your father, uncle, made the same threats against us. Didn't work out well.
That is why I have chosen this approach instead.
Yeah.
I do not need to
continuing
kill you.
threaten us doesn't
I
help
just
the
have
situation.
to ruin your reputations.
Nah, not gonna happen. Sorry. You can try and threaten us with violence all you wish, but we could just leave you completely beaten and dishonoured. Greatest disdain for a Klingon, losing his honour.
Well, I'm putting this straight into combat. He's not.
Gathered that.
He's not taking any of this, so on board.
I was
so...
really hoping Andrews would be able to was watching enough to be able to intervene in something when it eventually happened.
Matt didn't really give much of a chance on it, and it's a scripted kind of like event that's meant to happen. I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah.
You could have shouted very loudly. Plus, Andrews is all the way over there.
So I guess we want to take him alive. Damn it.
you can shoot
All right,
these down
so
if you want.
usual thing. One of you can go first, whoever you want to. But if you're undecided as to who wants to go first, then we can go in order of daring.
Alright, I would like to go first.
I was going to
If
say
that's
Andrews
fine with
as
everybody
well.
else.
Yeah.
Then I can now activate Andrews.
Oh dear. Oh, he's at the bottom. He wants to play. Alright, fine.
Hit him with your meat hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit him with my fleshy hand.
I don't know how you managed to make that sound wrong, Jan, but you really did.
Admittedly, I'm thinking the caretaker from Scary Movie 2. The way you said
wouldn't
that.
know.
It's my strong
Let me use my strong hand.
Again.
Right, well, I think that's daring security, isn't it, for hand to hand?
Yes, indeed, which means it's against this guy's
I'm
daring
also going
security.
to burn. I'm going to burn for the good of the Federation, for the determination. So come on,
And
Ben,
he's
come on.
going to burn. Today is a good day to die.
Yep. Go with that. Come on, Ben. Come on. Ah!
Nope.
Using Rokai. Dice in. Do we spend a momentum to punch him harder?
Do what you want. We've built all that up.
Yeah.
Be ashamed
I'll
to-
spend the momentum as well if that's alright with everyone.
Yeah, it'd be a shame not to use it.
Oh God.
Well, look at that. Which means here, as Edwards, that's 1 point of threat gone. That's as Andrews comes at him, he deflects the shot with his bat'leth and actually brings it down. And I'm going to spend a point of threat to give myself an extra damage dice on top of the extra one that I got. And it goes without saying that this guy is going for lethal. So that's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in total against Andrews. So she's down to 6.
Hang on, is it the Medal of Honor? Nope, the one that reduces the damage.
Which one reduces damage again, Sean?
Gallantry.
Gallantry.
Yeah, okay.
That one.
There we are. So, if I knocked you down by 13, then you
13,
regain
so
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6.
There you go. So a very heavy deflected, and then a very heavy riposte with the bat'leth.
Oh, I burnt my determination as well.
You did. And you didn't get it back either. So that's Andrews deactivated. You've used what was it? Quick to action. So you and your allies may ignore the normal cost of retaining the initiative. So who wants to go next? Going once.
So maybe security, Bravo.
Going twice.
I'll go.
You'll go. Activating
Fazanam. Well, you're Ushantor. Just.
We're doing non-lethal, so I'll go without the
His headbutts him.
Yeah, I'll see if I can take him down. Maybe try and tackle him.
Okay.
Managed it once before.
Still going to be a daring and security check with any focus on like hand-to-hand combat that you've got, which you don't.
I shall use Legion of Honor. Still got one Legion of Honor.
Okay, this is what I'm using. It was only one. Okay. Okay, so basically run into him and he doesn't move, but he's having to just about fend Fazanan off.
Legion of Honor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gain
beg your
2
pardon.
bonus momentum for unsuccessful tasks.
Ooh.
And don't you, on your other one, you want to flip gallantry. Because it's not successful at the minute, is it?
Once per mission, you can do one of the following. Gain 2 bonus momentum of successful task. It wasn't successful, it was a draw. Or ignore a single complication. So are you sure you want to use Legion of Honor and not something else? That might give you, actually, those...
You'd technically get an extra success.
Yeah, Starcross could give you, if what you just said, that 5-year-old might allow you to gain a second success there, so...
Starcross, I think, oh... only if I have an appropriate focus, which I do not.
In that case, it's just a draw that resolves to no conclusion.
Alright.
So I won't have you have spent that other Legion of Honor that didn't really apply, so...
Okay.
You've still got that, that under the hood, as it were. So, Fazanan moved, Fazanan tried. Fazanan didn't manage to topple him, he's just wrestling with him at the moment, so that's pretty much all I can think that Fazanan can do, unless you can indicate otherwise.
Nope.
Who's going next?
I said I think Scary Bravo, as he's literally just there.
If you want. Going once. Going twice. Soul, Security Bravo.
So, we going hand to hand. He does actually have hand-to-hand combat, so if we're gonna go that way, actually he doesn't actually have a weapon, does he? Yeah, probably be easier.
So, who's
It's not
being
type 3.
Who's being Bravo? It's Alex.
Navis is the Navis is.
Yeah, Davis. Yeah, you can still do it.
Well, in that case, Gareth can do Bravo since he hasn't done much.
Okay.
If he's using a phaser, it's going to be control and security.
Okay. Guess he's going for type 3 to stun.
If he wants to.
Oh yeah, if he's got type 3 on him, to whip out the type 3.
Does he get his hand phasers for that?
Yes.
Okay.
One success, which means he misses.
Well.
Does he want to maneuver himself anywhere, or is he going to stay close to the doctor?
Just I think more sort of like, he got 2 on that side, so he's kind of like shooting him in the back while he's forced to have his front towards the 2 guys attacking him in melee. Is probably a good strategic position for him to be in.
Okay then. So that's all Bravo wants to be. So who's next? Nova gonna get involved in this fisticuffs, or is she gonna stay with the machinery?
Yeah, Nova's gonna have to jump in.
She dusts her hands off and goes, "Oh, blimmin' heck, if you can't finish it, I will." Amateurs! This is how you do it. So yeah, if it's fisticuffs, then it's going to be daring and security, as per usual.
I'm going to use a Starcross. And... we've not damaged him yet, so I'm going to buy an extra dice and use aim to all buttons and charts.
Okie dokie. In that case, I'm going to spend to buy a dice as well. And I'm also using in space, all warriors are cold warriors as a determination. 5 successes versus 5 successes. Draw again. it seems Darkran's managed to hold himself off against ya. Unless, of course, you've just done something that I didn't see. Starcross. So if Starcross adds up, then that means you've actually got...
Yeah, it would. That'd be 7.
7. So you got 2 over what you needed to hit him. So there we are. You can add those 2 to damage if you want. Maybe even 6.
My focus would be 6, so it won't become 7 successes.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll throw them on damage.
Alrighty. Do it. So that was 6 successes in total. That's an unarmed strike. That's 7 successes and 1 effect. Cool. She's using fists and is going in non-lethal, yes?
Yeah.
Cool. Which means that Captain Darkron uses Brak Lul to increase his resistance to non-lethal attacks by 2. Which means he's now got armor 3, which means you got 7 knocked down to 4 against him. So he's still up. So Arian moved, Arian Nova attacked. That leaves Edwards, Natala, Bertram. These guys, you guys don't have to take active shots if you don't think that your guys as non-combat characters would do so. So it's entirely up to you. Unless you can think of an interesting alternative way of putting him down.
I've got an interesting one, but I'll let Edwards go first.
No,
Okay.
no, I'm happy to go for you first.
Alright, what's the idea then, Davis?
Natala's carrying a pattern enhancer.
Aha! Okay then.
So, our best option as far as Natala's concerned is put this obviously crazy Klingon onto the ship in a medical force field. That's obviously the best solution.
What I will say to that then is, I would say spend 2 from the momentum pool to create an advantage, representing something, maybe the pattern enhancer getting a better lock due to something that Natala has done. A modification perhaps, that would lower the difficulty of the attempt to actually beam him up whilst he's trying to resist it. So, as long as you're alright with that.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go then.
I'd be tempted to go one further. See if you've. Wait, is the signal booster to the Navis? Is that still in effect?
So the pattern enhancer is probably being relayed through your comms to the to the Carpathia to the ship. So
yeah. So it's more of a. Could I use that to basically contact Latude?
Sure. Could aid Natala that way by getting a more definite reading on where the ship is.
Improve the lock from both sides.
Mm-hmm. So that sounds like it's going to be a control and science check to me.
Because also specifically, there are 3 other comm badges around the around the target as well that could potentially help. I don't know, a bit more of a clearer signal because it's all in one small tight area.
I'm going to make this difficulty 3 then, and I've already added an extra threat to make the complication range higher. So,
if Natala wants to lead, did you say was it insight or was that control? Did you say in science?
Control and science, because this is going to be fine manipulation of things in order to get through the interference and get the target you want.
That's both of us doing that.
If you want to add somebody else to the mix, that's fine too. But you've got like Bertram remaining, so technically you could get the Navis to help.
Yeah, as a sensor operation. Well, technically, wouldn't we also have Latude rolling from his end?
That way, that could work too.
So for Natala leading, I suppose that would be sensor operations as she's tweaking with the enhancer.
I'm going to give you a Latude.
Latude just beams down.
Gareth, do you want to be Latude? Or Webby, or somebody who hasn't rolled much. Do you want to be Latude?
What do you want me to roll again?
Yep. So control and engineering for Latude. 1
Okay.
dice.
Transporter operations as a focus?
Yes, please. Edwards has already rolled, so it's going to be Natala doing 2. Good stuff so far. You need 1
Right.
more success.
Okay, should I blow a determination on this?
I would.
Right, okay. Thrown in determination. United we stand.
I was thinking that because we are working together quite well.
We are Starfleet.
Oh, there we go. Not
don't
bad at all.
surrender.
And in that case...
Oh, that is going to sting him even more. We've deprived him of the fight.
Yep. Nice.
While being nice.
Now, this leaves us with what happens later. Coming back to the Lormian settlement.
Do we still have comms with? We still have comms with the Navis, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we're probably telling them is that look out for a Klingon ship, and I am submitting my memory engrams for evidence to be submitted directly to the Klingon High Council.
Indeed. When you get back to the Lormian colony, you will find that the Klingon warriors who were left with the scientists, and Natik will confirm this, they were beamed away using a Klingon transporter beam. And the Navis notified him that there was a transporter effect, for lack of a better word, going on. Looks like he was prepared for it. He thought he was going to have more Klingons beaming down, but what happened was the Klingons were beamed up. So you can let Natik and everybody else know what happened after the fact. So Captain Darkran's plan seems a bit odd and maybe a bit flimsy, but if there's one thing you know about Klingons is that they don't need much in the way of justification, so who knows what they're going to end up using whatever they've just done. But the important part is that you have reduced the amount of interference in the atmosphere. Not gotten rid of it completely, but enough that the Navis no longer is in danger if it enters into low orbit. But you still have only bought Orgun III and its native population of Lormians 6 months. 6 months to evacuate 6 million people. Dr. Sherman still maintains the fastest method of evacuating the Lormians would be to transplant them to Orgun II. Especially because even if you had lots of ships, even if you had both the Bellerophon and the Venture operating with you, and all your shuttles going to and from, the amount of time it would take to evacuate people onto a ship, turn around, go out into warp, come back, maybe have more ships in a chain, that still involves leaving system. If it's kept in system, then the evacuation process can go a hell of a lot faster, and you could probably save more, if not all, the Lormians that way. But, of course, there is the concern about the nascent civilization on Orgun II. So, what are you guys going to offer up as your recommendation? What do you think should happen?
It comes down to the Prime Directive. As sad as it is for what's happening to the Lormians, we'd essentially be sort of polluting and sacrificing the other civilization for the sake of this one. I'm pretty sure that the Prime Directive simply says no, you cannot basically corrupt a civilization for any reason, not even to save another.
The other one for this one is, how do we know the other planet isn't going to blow up in another 6 months as well? The last time one of these blew up, it took out everything in the star system and made a gigantic black hole.
Good point. Good point. Needless to say, Dr. Sherman and his team are not enthused by this. They think
Dr.
this will...
Dr. Sherman and his team can do what they wish. We have to follow. We can offer advice and we can support as best we can, but we can't willingly interfere. We can obviously ask what the Federation Council would like to do on this, but that could take precious time.
What Vibers would like to bring in, because that previous comment was more a Tyler one, is haven't we got the Starfleet Reserve and all the ships that are usually just useless? You know, like those Oberths.
The death
Can't
canoes,
we call in
yes.
all of those death canoes to help move people over?
Yes, you
They
could,
could do
but
that on
as...
the civilian side, can't they?
Yes, you could, but as has already been pointed out by Andrews/Webby, that would take time. Time to organise crews, time to get them here, and then that's time that wasn't being used evacuating the Lumerians.
How long would it take the Lumerians to reverse engineer the warp drive from the crashed ship?
Themselves, by themselves, that would probably take them years. Now, they do have advanced anti-grav technology, but...
Who said they need warp drive?
Well, if they suddenly develop warp drive, then we have an obligation to make first contact protocol.
And even then, you're still left with the time being spent making first contact and offering them potential membership of the Federation or whatever. That's still time that's not being used evacuating the Lumerians from the planet. But those are options, definitely. I'm not naysaying them, I'm just saying that the scientists will point out anything you do in that regard, which may very well have benefits, still takes time.
Is there any spare space on the other planet that can be used as a staging spot? Not as a permanent location, but...
As a temporary transfer point? Quite possibly.
Refugee camp type thing.
Yeah.
Something would have to be constructed, and constructed fast, and constructed to be able to take 6 million, even if it is taking only a couple of thousand at a time. That's possible.
Well, if they're not very high tech on the second planet, maybe something underground. So it's very unlikely they would find something underground.
So, yes, that's definitely an option.
Not on. With Starfleet, we could drop we can replicate a base onto the Arctic, on the ice caps. That's not going to be populated. We can put people in that for a bit.
But it's on an ice cap, and the lemurs are not particularly good at ice.
They're in a...
Collectively, okay, ignore the Prime Directive. If we can keep them in a location temporarily enough time to get them off planet, would we do it?
Get 6 million people onto a small enough location on planet that it won't come into any contact with the civilization that's there. I suppose it depends on how primitive and how condensed or spread out they are. Like if they're all on one continent and they're just discovering iron tools, then maybe. If they're basically at, say, the equivalent of an industrial revolution and are spread out to most of their continents, then I'm not certain we can take even...
But it said it was Stone Age.
Can we get the Navis to do a scan and see if that's confirmed, both level of technology and how spread out they are?
The Navis can confirm that the scans indicate that the other civilization is within a Stone Age level of technology, and therefore there are smaller by comparison pockets of individual family groups dotted out around various locations, usually in the areas where there's more game hunting and natural resources for them to draw upon. This means that any potential sites that could be used to house the Lumerian refugees could be built in places where such locals are not likely to go, but this does mean that the conditions there would be, arid,
Harder.
potentially, yes.
Well,
But would be less likely to be observed
It is
because there's no use for them to
better
go there.
than dead.
It's a temporary location whilst it allows the rest of the Federation more time to make a decision.
And
Okay.
to be honest, it's their discomfort is
Versus their
basically
survival.
yeah, and there's also the thing of in this scenario, it's the native population. There's the high priority to be protective. If it means Lumerians are basically in hiding and not in a comfortable position, and unfortunately, that would have to be what they endure for survival, because we can't allow them to have any contact with the native civilization to that planet. I know Andrew said ignore the Prime Directive for a moment, but unfortunately, we can't really do that.
So, Dr. Sherman and the rest of his team do seem very... they seem satisfied with that as an interim measure. They think that could probably work. And if that's the best that they can hope for, then that's probably what you should go for. So, final word then, is that what you guys think should happen? That's going to be your recommendation to the Federation and Starfleet. Everybody else groovy?
It's either that or the Federation now has to make ready for 6 million refugees.
Which, given that they've only got 6 months before the whole thing goes kaboom.
And given we're already on a war footing.
Nothing has escalated yet. All that's happened, war footing-wise, is that the Cardassians have been joined by military forces from the Dominion in the Gamma Quadrant and have now pushed the Klingons out of their space. That's it so far. But yes, there's a definite sense of...
On the rumour mill, I've heard they're actually talking about getting some of the old pieces of Excelsiors back into commission.
All right then. So we will proceed with the assumption then that that's your recommendation to Starfleet and the Federation, and what happens to the Lumerians on Orgun III will be proceeding under that assumption. So with that in mind then, this brings us to the end of this episode, known as Decision Point, and this is also the last episode in Season 2 of the adventures of the USS Navis.
Sorry,
So-
blame the captain. It was the captain's prerogative.
So next week is the 25th, and we tend to do an episode in between episode break. This could also be seen as the season break before we come back to our usual shenanigans on the 1st of August. But Jan is moving house then, so would you? It's going to be a bit of an odd one because I can do the 1st and the 8th, or I can move it forward to be the 25th and the 1st. But either way, Jan is missing one of them. And if I do the 8th, I can't do the 15th afterwards. So it's...
So why don't we do the 25th and the 8th and have the break on the 1st?
Could do the
If
28th
you're
and the
happy
5th and
to
do the break on the
Yeah,
1st,
season-
if you want to do it that way.
So we have just make sure that it's a 2-part episode, and it ends on a cliffhanger.
In true Star Trek tradition.
I'm good with that, so if we want to go for next Tuesday, same time, but then miss out the 1st, and come back on the 8th of August.
Yep.
Alright. No complaints, we'll do that then. Nice. Well then. I know we've run over time. This is happening a lot, but we needed that. We needed that ending and the confirmation of what the group wants to do going forward, so that's groovy. We'll go and see if this has any future repercussions. But in the meantime, for everybody who tuned into the stream, thank you very much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. as much as we did playing it. For those who are watching this on YouTube later, if you enjoyed it, consider giving us a like, because it helps not just us, but all those other guys who are doing Star Trek related stuff and actual plays of role-playing games a bit of a boost as well, because we must appease our Lord and Master, the algorithm. All hail the algorithm.
All hail.
But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we hope that you do all live long and prosper, and make sure that you do like the Vulcans do. And no, I don't mean just cock a quizzical eyebrow and keep your face stony and unmoving. I mean engage in multiple? It's not what I'm going for at all. Multiple strikes on the Klingon territory. No. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations. Look after one another, take care of each other, and we will see you when we see you next. Hailing frequencies are now closed.